Hello everyone, and welcome to the Dice Commando YouTube channel. I'm Andrew, with you here as always. This is Go Again, a fabulous video cast covering the trading card game Flesh and Blood. This video and others like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. Please show your support with a like and subscribe, and be sure to hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any new videos. If you want to get involved with the channel, consider becoming a channel member. There are many benefits to channel membership, including access to our Discord, exclusive deck tech and strategy videos, and the opportunity to help create channel content. I want to sincerely thank all our channel members, as I truly couldn't do this without your support. You guys rock. Go Commando. Hello everyone, welcome to Dice Commando and Go Again, a fabulous cast. I'm Andrew with you here as always, flying solo tonight, and I want to do something a little different today. Instead of talking about Flesh and Blood, the game, and some aspect of it, I instead want to talk about Flesh and Blood, the product. So Legend Story Studios, or LSS informally, is really just killing it right now in pretty much every aspect of this game. So what I want to talk about is why I think that with them at the helm, Flesh and Blood may actually be posed to stick around for a long time. Hello everyone, and thanks for joining me again this week. We were off last weekend for the holiday here in the United States, so I am glad to be back and talking about this. Is actually a topic I've been wanting to talk about for a while, but other things come up and this is not necessarily time sensitive, so seems like just as good of a week as any. So like I said, Legend Story Studios is really killing it. I mean, that's the best way to say it. They're doing an awesome job with the game. And as we get into this, I think that kind of my general thesis statement of tonight is I think that what LSS has done is I think that they've created a better product than they have a game. Now, hold on. I'm not attacking Flesh and Blood the game at all. I think if it wasn't a good game, if the game was bad, we wouldn't be here to begin with. It never would have picked up steam and traction to begin with. But a lot of the things that are going really well for Flesh and Blood right now honestly have nothing to do with the game itself. It has to do primarily with the collectability and a lot of other factors there, many of which are directly impacted by how LSS is running their company and running this product. So that's really, so again, with that statement said, I think it's a very important statement that I think they have a better product than they have a game. That's not attacking the game, but what I'm trying to highlight there is how really strong of a product I believe they have created. And LSS has had to compromise on some things from their original mission statement because of COVID, and I think everybody understands that, and I think that's helped them as well. So let's get into this now. As we go through a lot of these things, I've been burned by many companies in the past. I mean, I've been playing games. I'm closing in on 40 years old. I've been playing games for a long time, since middle school. I mean, I've played a lot of games that aren't here anymore, right? And been burned by a lot of different companies. So I'm going to kind of reference other companies. I'm going to do my best not to actually, pick names or choose stuff like that as we go through this. But the first thing that LSS is doing the best, almost certainly better than anyone I've ever seen, because the only company who I think did a good job of it was basically not in the internet age. And we have to have information faster and more clear and readily available, and that's LSS's strength right now, in my opinion, is their level of communication. Through their webs, you don't have to, if you are someone else trying to learn about the game, you don't have to go anywhere else. You don't have to go, please, I love it when people come to podcasts and videocasts and stuff but you don't have to go to them. You can get everything you need off of LSS's site, and that's the first thing, is you go to their site and you click on the articles, and everything you need to know is there. It's not like you have to be plugged in on some subreddit to learn some fact 18 minutes before somebody else. You get the info on LSS's site, and with that comes a lot of with that being their excellence in communication, I think brings a lot of other things that they're doing very, very well, that I really want to applaud them for. And I'm not biased at all here, of course, but they've done a very good job with outreach to their fourth party supporters, right? I mean, let's say second party being their distributors, third party being their LGS, the fourth party being their content creators or other people, just fans who want to do stuff about the game. I mean, LSS supports them, and is not just supportive of them, but really helps to promote them. I mean, they have a spot on their page where you can go click and get those links. I mean, that being itself is a small gesture, but they send thank you notes to content creators and people for doing things for them. And obviously now, keep in mind that they've picked up Rudy, they've picked up Channel Fireball, they're now on TCG Player. So a lot of these fourth party people are going to become less and less important to them over time. I mean, that's just the way it goes when a business grows. But I feel that the core people within LSS appreciate the grassroots support, at least for now. And I think that's a really strong thing from a core philosophy at their company. I mean, I've played games and made content for other games to where the company basically just views the content creators, the fourth party, whatever you want to call them, as kind of a nuisance. Maybe they throw them spoilers, but generally, by and large, they don't give them information, or they don't, support them really in any way. And I mean, not only is it free advertising, but it does help get other people interested because they see someone excited about it. And I think LSS recognizes that and embraces it. So we don't need to harp on that too long. Like I said, I'm not biased at all, of course, on it. But it's something that I think that the action itself isn't necessarily as important as kind of the philosophy that it sets, that they want to build the community from the ground up. I think that's a very important philosophy to approach a game, as opposed to just trying to sell product. They're trying to almost make the community self-sustainable, and I think that's a very smart business practice, and I think it speaks a lot to kind of how the individuals at their company approach just their way of doing their jobs. And to point out, Alan over there, they have their own podcast, right? I mean, guy who works for the company has his own podcast talking about the game he likes to play. I mean, and that in itself is, I mean, how can you feel more excited about getting into a game than the people who work for the company love the game? I mean, it just makes inherent sense to me. So the communication, I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, and then the next part of the communication kind of is LSS has been very upfront and very clear about when things go. Now, to be clear, not very much has gone wrong in the grand scheme of things, right? I mean, they have project shortage, product delays, but that's really expected when a game blows up faster than you think it is. Like, I don't think anybody's really holding that against LSS in general, right? And you can go on their site and they're like, hey, there's going to be a delay. Here's the plan. How often do you actually see that from a company? Very rarely. I mean, even Wizards, they don't do a very good job. You have to go to Mark Rosewater's blog or hunt down some Reddit to find some quote that some guy got from some guy to like try and figure out and piece together a puzzle of release dates. And like it's just ridiculous. Like, LSS comes out and they say, hey, we have delays. Here's when it's going to be in the US. Here's when it's going to be in Europe. Ship it. I mean, what else can you ask for there, right? And then the other thing that I was very, very impressed with their desire to make it right, is not just owning it, but they wanted to make it right. When there were some pretty significant print run issues of the first wave, if you will, of Crucible, right? We had some packs that were pretty consistently damaged. We had, stripes on cards and stuff like that. What did they do? I think it was within like 10 days or so of the set hitting, they had an article they released about, all right, here's our, redemption or swap plan, or, I'll put it up, whatever they called it, but they fell on their sword and said, hey, there's issues. To be clear, everybody knows that those issues weren't actually LSS's issues, but yet they were taking responsibility for it. I mean, there's been a lot of companies in the past who haven't done that. They've just said, well, or they haven't said anything, right? I mean, that's usually the way that the companies do it. So, right, so we have great communication. We have willingness to, tell us when things went wrong and what their plan is to fix it. And we have a willingness to step in front of a problem and make the customer happy. I mean, it's kind of silly as I'm sitting here thinking and listening to myself talk, and like a lot of those things are kind of basic business, but if you compare it across the industry, not just right now, but also historically, people haven't done it. and LSS is continuing to do that and really leading the way. So that's really why I'm impressed with them right now as a company. Now, to give the counter arguments, what one may have the counter argument of what I'm saying is they are a small company right now, and they are focused on just one product right now, and this is their livelihood. So it's their 100% of their livelihood. So yes, they are going to be more focused on it. So that could change over time if they come out with another game, or as FAB continues to grow. Like I had said earlier, them getting involved with Channel Fireball and TCG Player and stuff like that, which is absolutely needed for the health of the game. But as that trajectory continues upward, maybe they do, or the potential is there to forget about the small people, forget about the player. It could happen, certainly could happen. And will we lose as the game continues to grow down the line? And let's say they have some bad product that comes out and it undersells, or worse, you have some bad product come out and you have some consumer backlash, and people at the company get pissed off and now they don't like the grassroots anymore, which I think is because let's be honest, the gamers are great people. The gaming community can tend to be a little toxic, right? Especially over social media. And it's very, it could be very hard to be a social media manager or something trying to read comments about your company, right? It could be. So does something like that happen eventually in the future? Eventually they're going to have some misstep and the community's going to be mad. Whether it be a year from now, 5 years from now, I don't know. Something eventually is going to happen that's less than perfect. There's going to be backlash, and if they don't react the right way, then yeah, they could change their company philosophy. But based on what I've seen, I don't think they will. So I think there's some really good people over there. I think they're making some really smart strategic decisions. One thing I did also want to speak to, I was I've been overall really pleased with how they handled the COVID pandemic. Not the pandemic itself, but really their game response to it. And we know they were pretty clear when they came on that Flesh and Blood was supposed to be a brick and mortar / real game. They weren't too keen on it being online. And they really pretty much embraced, when COVID happened, they pretty much embraced Tabletop Simulator and all these other things. And they were really okay with that. And not only were okay with it, but I'm sure it wasn't their favorite thing in the world, but it was a necessary evil. And I think it's helped them not only has it helped them keep alive, but I think it's helped them gain interest. So I think that's very valuable as well. And I want to, of course it was valuable, but I want to applaud them for being flexible and recognizing the situation. But now they're striking back hard, right? We saw the calling announced. They're sticking to their original plan. They don't, as long as if people want to play on TTS, fine. But hey, if you want to come win money, you come play in person. And I like that move as well. I think that's a smart tactical move. And the next point I have written down that I want to discuss is how they've handled their collectability. And we all know the Majestics and Supers and all that, Fableds, that's one thing. And the collectability side of this, whether or not it's just print run shortage that kind of created all that. I'm not really too into the sealed box trading market thing. And I don't think that was necessarily intentional. But I think they have a really smart structure on how they're doing their promos, because I've played a lot of games in the past, and a perfect example actually, right, it's still alive but barely right now, is Argent Saga. They have so many different versions of all of these promos that they almost, at the point that it becomes impossible or nearly impossible to collect everything, is the point that people stop worrying about collecting everything, right? So I think that's a balance that FAB has, or LSS has created with FAB, that they don't have, aside from you can only get this gold stamp one when you win a tournament, which I think everyone can deal with. I don't think that there's not 5 different versions of other promos, and you can still get all of these promos in boxes, right? You don't have to win a tournament to get some tournament exclusive. You don't have to go to a tournament in real life to get some tournament exclusive. They've managed that, at least that way for now. I think that's fantastic, and I think that's really helped the collectability market, which has also helped sales. So, is that a nice for the community thing, or is it just a smart tactic? I think it's both. But either way, I think that's been a really smart decision that they've made also with the collectability market. Because, like I said, I was picking on Argent Saga, but they have like 5 or 6 different, like, stamped and a foil and a full art and blah, 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 and you have to go to all these. So, like, either you want to have it all and you can't get it, or you're like, well, I have 2 of these, why do I care about the other one, right? So I think by streamlining their collectibleness, whatever, I think by streamlining it, they've done a pretty smart job there as well. The next topic I want to discuss is their approach, or like the decisions that they've made in terms of release cadence. And it's slower than we're used to in other games. And there's a lot of people that are really happy with that because, like, oh, well, it's easier on my pocketbook. But I think it's actually created something else, right? Because if you combine the release cadence that they have with what they've created for the collectability market, I think you're seeing a very interesting thing here where the product does run out at some point. And maybe this will change in the future with different size print runs and stuff as they get more capital going in, I grant you that. But it's almost like, think about it this way, if you had to spend so much to get all of your fables or whatever, you wouldn't be doing that every 2 to 3 months. And I think it would actually hurt the top end of the collectability market, because I think people would be less, like, if there was just so much stuff out there they had to get. I think it's kind of my same argument about the promos, right? It's like, as it becomes harder and harder to get everything, you're less interested in getting everything. So I think that the release cadence, ironically, right? Usually you're like, all right, you want more release for more products, they can make more money. That's kind of like basic economics, right? But I think in this case, it's like one hand feeding the other, and I think it's really working out for them. Now, whether that was intentional or whether they just kind of stumbled into that, and again, I'm not talking about the box collection here. I'm talking about people chasing the fables and the chase cards here, right? That's really what I'm talking about. And I think that's a very interesting phenomenon that's come out of this. Like I said, it might have been intentional, might have not been. But as they're getting more, they're not changing their release cadence. So there's definitely something to that, and I want to make sure that they're given credit for that. So as we close this up, I just want to give a lot of credit for the actual individuals that currently work for LSS. Even early on, I was working with individuals that cared, and you can tell they care. I think it was 2 or 3 months ago, I was looking for specific images, and I noticed that the young heroes for Welcome to Wrathe were not up on the retailer assets page for for doing overlays and stuff. And I emailed them and I asked, and I think it was within 2 weeks they had them up. He's like he emailed me back. He's like, yeah, no problem, I'll get it in the queue, and they actually did it. Do you know how many companies out there don't do stuff like that? And forget the size of the company. Yes, that has something to do with it. Like, if I'd emailed a WotC, it wouldn't have gone the same way. I grant you that. But there are a lot of companies out there that even would respond back and just wouldn't follow up, and it just wouldn't get done. And they did, and just little stuff like that, and their company philosophy of still paying attention. And I have no doubt that that's going to continue forward in some fashion through the future, because I do think that with the way that they're handling this product, I think they're doing a good job with it. I think they're friendly to their customers. I think they're giving their competitive people an edge. And there's a lot of people who are just gamers and not competitive gamers who are coming to FAB. I get asked all the time about, well, how do I get this product? How do I get this starter deck? Where are the starters? Where should I? I get asked all the time by people for that, and that's great. And they're not people who are going to spend $2,000. They're just people who want to come in the game, but they generate interest, right? So it's growing, and that's a good thing, right? And I believe it or not, and there's a lot of people out there who just don't get it, but you having other casual players, even if they're not the people spending even if they're not buying 5 cases, having those people out there are valuable to growing the game, whether or not you think they're a scrub or not, right? And that is just as important as attracting a high-level gamer for the health and longevity of the overall game. And I do believe in my core that LSS recognize that, so I want to give them a huge shout-out for that. So as we wrap up and get out of here today, I just want to, comment. I wasn't here just to basically toot LSS's horn, win favor, or anything like that. What I'm really here talking about is, when I look at the future of why do I, will FAB be around in 3 to 4 years, or I mean, who knows what has yet to come with everything else. But when I look at, is this game really well positioned to stay around? I think it is. And I think it's better positioned from a product health standpoint to be around than any game I've seen in a long time. And again, I couldn't really speak to that without speaking to how I think LSS is doing just a bang up job managing it basically on every level. So again, it wasn't just me tooting their horn, there was a logic to it. But hey, you know what? When they're doing a good job, they deserve a pat on the back as well. So that'll be it for me today. Thanks for joining me today. Hopefully you're enjoying FAB going into Christmas. Maybe you have some in your stocking or whatever it may be across the world and how you celebrate the holidays. But nothing else, guys. Thanks for joining me, and go Commando.